9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Hello, hello. Hey, gang. Good morning, first of all. Please make sure you're subscribing to the Smerconish.com daily newsletter. I've just seen the final version. It arrived in my in-bin. It looks awesome. Also, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Ring the bell if you want prior notification of when I'm doing these things live. And it's a Thursday, so give TC some play with TC After Dark. She goes longer than 6 minutes this week, which is a good thing. Thank you to my friend Steve Cordasco. Tax season is here. Did your financial advisor pay close attention to the tax consequences of every financial and retirement planning move that you made during the last year? I can tell you this, the professionals at the Cordasco Financial Network, a proud part of Mercer Advisors, they certainly did. They've got the planning by tax-centric experts. State-of-the-art tools are what they use. On-staff CPAs, they're professionals. And I have known Steve forever. You can trust him, but only if you call him. Schedule your free financial planning consultation today with Steve Cordasco and the team at Mercer by dialing this number, 855-558-3500, 855-558-3500. As I said, Cordasco Financial Network, a trade name owned by Mercer Global Advisors. Investment advisory services are offered through Mercer Global Advisors, Inc. That's an SEC-registered investment advisor. Securities are provided through Andrew Garrett, Inc., member of FINRA SIPC. Consultation with your personal tax professional, always recommended. Time now for the headlines from Smerconish.com, the newsletter. You saw, I hope, that today's poll question at Smerconish.com asks the following. Did the Georgia grand jury foreperson just poison that investigation in her media interviews? Or said differently, did Donald Trump just get yet another get-out-of-jail-free card? I don't know on the merits how this is going to play out legally in court, meaning I'm not sure if efforts, and they'll be made, to quash any indictments that might come from Fulton County. I don't know if they'll be successful. I need to know more about the different revelations that she made. But I can tell you this, it's going to play right into Trump's hands in the court of public opinion. I've never seen anything like this before. I made reference to it yesterday. Her name is Emily Kohrs. I think Politico has some good coverage of this today. They describe her as a 30-year-old woman from Atlanta who was between retail jobs last year when suddenly she was tasked with one of the most sensitive jobs in America, forewoman on the special grand jury investigating whether Trump and his allies committed any crimes in trying to overturn the results of the 2020 election in Georgia. And I had this conversation with Mark Halpern yesterday. I forget what his word choice was. We were both being very guarded in how we described her. I can speak for myself because I didn't want somebody saying, oh, that's so sexist. So today, TC, I'm going to tell you what I was thinking yesterday, but I didn't say. Are you ready?
Oh, boy. Oh, geez.
And this is a word my mother used. This is a word that my mother used when my brother and I were younger. Whifty.
Whifty.
Did Helen ever use that descriptor? Oh, my gosh, she's really whifty.
What a phenomenal description. No, Helen does not use that word, although Helen is a wordsmith. That is fascinating. Good one.
Perhaps you shall recommend it to her.
I will.
The point is this. That's what was on the tip of my tongue yesterday. She struck me as whifty. How about this? Flighty.
Something.
The Kohrs-led jury listened to secret testimony well, I'm not the only one making these observations, and others are not as kind as I'm being in using the word whifty, okay? So they listened to 8 months worth of testimony. They made recommendations to Fani Willis, the district attorney of Fulton County. Now it's up to the prosecutor, Willis, to determine whether to indict anyone. But as this process is now going on, here she is out making the media rounds. I've never seen a jury foreperson do this before. And if you look at her and you share my characterization of her being whifty, remember this. The other grand jurors elected her as their foreperson. So what must the rest of them look like? I don't know. I don't know. I just think it's problematic for the prosecution. At a minimum, it's an embarrassment. let me make this clear, and here's the very narrow issue. They are permitted to talk to the media about their experience, but not about their deliberations. So as you follow this story in the media, keep that in mind and ask yourself, did she just share something about her experience, or did she just share something about their deliberations? TC, do we have any sound just to give people a taste of what I'm talking about?
Yeah, so this is, she was interviewed, as you say, everywhere. Here's a piece from MSNBC. Take a listen.
Did you personally want to hear from the former president?
I wanted to hear from the former president, but honestly, I kind of wanted to subpoena the former president because I got to swear everybody in. And so I thought it'd be really cool to get 60 seconds with President Trump of me looking at him and being like, do you solemnly swear? And me getting to swear him in. I kind of just thought that would be an awesome moment.
Is she talking about her experience, or is she talking about her deliberations? Interesting that Politico today says, by all indications, she was not actually seeking publicity. Her first interview this week was with the Associated Press, which said it, quote, identified Kohrs after her name was included on subpoenas obtained through open records requests. The initial AP piece on Tuesday was quickly followed by ones in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, the New York Times on the same day. By Tuesday, she had jumped to TV with an interview on NBC News, from which we just played, and then popped up on CNN. I watched the CNN interview. That's what I commented on yesterday. It was done by Kate Baldwin. I sent a private note to Kate Baldwin after I watched it, and I said, I think you just did a really brilliant job with a very difficult guest because, well, she was unusual. She was more emotive. Here's the rub. She was more emotive through her body language with these odd movements and it's kind of hard for me to describe. You got to watch it. Than she was with her spoken word. So keep that in mind, that maybe if you look at a transcript, you'll say, well, she really didn't reveal anything in terms of deliberation. She was talking more about her experiences. But if you see her emoting the way I did with body language, a little bit different, perhaps. In the category of did she cross a line, Politico says she revealed, for instance, that the grand jury decided not to invite Trump to testify because it wasn't worth the fight he would put up. Okay, now she's gone beyond her experience. Her experience would be, it was a long and arduous task, and I met some really interesting people, and I'm not allowed to tell you what we did behind closed doors. But now she's telling you that they decided not to invite Trump because they subpoena Trump because they knew he'd fight it and they didn't want to prolong it. That was the precursor to the clip we just played where she says, I thought it'd be really cool to get 60 seconds with him. She disclosed some of the evidence, including that the grand jury heard lots of recordings of Trump. She also revealed that their final report recommended indictments for over a dozen individuals, and she strongly hinted that Trump was among them. Quote, you're not going to be shocked, she told the Times. It's not rocket science. Some of these revelations do seem that they could be in the category of grand jury deliberations. Trump, of course, seizing on the moment and says that, this thing is like a kangaroo court. It's ridiculous. Of course, when the grand jury report came out, he said, thank you to the special grand jury for your patriotism and courage. Total exoneration. So what Trump regarded as total exoneration just a couple of days ago, now trying to seize the moment and say that this is all a blank show and a witch hunt. The reaction from the legal scholars in terms of did she violate her oath, it's all over the lot. Frankly, I see some of them suiting up in their usual partisan jerseys, which is distressing. It is a very unique issue, but it's the basis of today's poll question. Did the Georgia grand jury foreperson just poison that investigation in her media interviews? Mark Halpern today in the wide world of news, just reflecting on all that is going on relative to Donald Trump, explains that, he's surrounded and has people in his orbit who are never Trumpers and just believe that there is no way Donald Trump is ever going to be able to win a nomination again, much less win the White House back. And he points this out. He says, folks in this cohort spend an enormous amount of time thinking about and talking about all the reasons that Trump is going to prison or at least political oblivion. They spend far less time, AKA almost none, pondering three things. One, why Trump won in the first place in 2016, 2, how Trump almost won in 2020, and 3, why and how he could win again in 2024. And then he goes on to cite, I'll use this word, the show that Trump put on in East Palestine yesterday in visiting those poor folks whose community has been completely upended by the train derailment. And of course, I'm mindful of the argument that people say, well, it was the deregulatory efforts on the Trump administration that allowed for this to happen. And I'm not sure whether the brake system would have been impacted by that, but I get it. East Palestine has become a political football, and that's a sad thing. But while the networks, the cable networks, my own CNN, MSNBC, Fox, they didn't show Trump speaking in the firehouse yesterday. Like, do you even know what I'm talking about when I say Trump spoke in a firehouse yesterday? This was at about the same time, TC, that he ordered McDonald's for everybody in the firehouse. And when I have to say, I thought this was a funny line, and it has been viewed, I'm going to say 1 million times, but I'm sure the number is much, much more. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have the audio.
Do
you want it?
Explain it.
So this is.
Help me explain it.
I think he went into McDonald's to buy a bunch of burgers, a bunch of food for the firefighters, for the responders, and he's surrounded by a bunch of people. He's giving out MAGA hats. It's a scene to end all scenes, and this is, I believe,
it's a show.
It's a show, and this is, I think, the quote that you're talking about. Take a listen. Can you hear it? Hang on. You got to hear this. This is amazing. Hang on. Got it here. Here we go.
What's your specialty today?
How are you today? Nice to meet you.
Hello, everybody. That's a nice, beautiful looking group of people. So I know this menu better than you do. Okay? I probably know it better than anybody in here. We're going to take this.
He's literally talking to the people behind the counter. I know this menu better than you do. Amazing.
By the way, the fact that I'm laughing and you're smiling because I can see you, of course, on YouTube.
Yeah.
People, why are you always whatever?
Because it's a show. It's a show.
It's a show. It's a show.
You
and
just
it's not
said
a
it.
shit show. It's a show.
Yeah.
It's a show, right? Anyway, okay. So there's that. Now, yesterday at Smerconish.com, thank you for the 19,459 votes cast. Should the U.S. regard any supply by China of lethal support to Russia as a diplomatic red line? Again, the most hawkish, militaristic view wins the day with our audience. 77% and change say yes. Read the story that's posted at Smerconish.com today on this issue. Putin says Xi is going to visit Russia and their ties are reaching new frontiers. There's another story that I posted at Smerconish.com today talking about how, if you have the perception, and I did have the perception, if you had the perception that apart from a handful of rogue states, the globe is united in purpose on the side of Ukraine against Russia, you'd be mistaken. There are lots of nations that are on Russia's, and I don't mean, North Korea and Iran and China and who else would who the hell else would I put in that category? It'll come to me. But no. I'm talking about a whole, the Southern Hemisphere, generally speaking. They regard this as, well, America has itself been an invader in the past, their colonialism. Look what they did in Iraq and Afghanistan more recently. Why should we be rallying to the side of America when they're just as bad as the Russians are? Read that story at Smerconish.com. I think you'll find it pretty distressing. Not sure by the time you listen to me today whether this will actually have occurred, but defense attorneys, TC, in the Murdoch trial are saying that maybe Alex Murdoch will take the stand. I don't believe that's the case. And may I make this observation, because you know that I've told you, and I've had this conversation with Danny Savalos, I question whether all of the evidence of his financial crimes, he's clearly a thief. Whether he's a murderer remains to be seen, but he's clearly a thief, and he stole from a lot of people close to him. And you know that I've questioned the propriety of all that evidence coming in, because I think that the probative value is outweighed by the prejudicial harm. That's the legalese analysis. So notice what happened. Harpootlian, his very clever defense lawyer, sought from the court an assurance that if Alec Murdoch takes the stand, he'll only be questioned on the murder timeline, the direct evidence of the murder, not the financial stuff. And the court would not give him that assurance. Okay. And TC, he put this all on the record. Okay.
Got it.
Here's what I think is going to take place. I don't think Murdoch takes the stand. And I think Harpootlian was bolstering his record so that he's going to say the financial evidence should never have come into play. And Your Honor, because it, or appellate court, because it did, we couldn't possibly put him on the stand because he was going to get cross-examined on all of that.
I get it.
I think that was all just laying a paper trail.
Like legalese.
One more, if I may.
Please.
One more, if I may.
And then I have a question
Philly
for you.
Story. Well, you ask your question first, and then I will tell you the one final story that I recommend today.
Where the heck are you? There are a lot of comments for people watching on YouTube. Like, this is a different angle. What's in the background? There's blue sky. It can't be Philly. What's happening?
When I tell you,
looks kind of cool.
I'm loath. Well, I'm loath to tell you because then you and Dan and everybody else is going to think that I'm a malingerer, and it's quite the contrary. I'm in Florida.
Oh.
But I'm working.
Got to make sure everybody knows you're working. Got to make sure, Michael.
Well, I don't want you.
God forbid.
I put down the blind because there's a palm tree behind me, and I thought for sure if you thought that, you would also think that my fat ass is going to be in a lounge chair as soon as the program ends today. But I'm actually giving a speech.
By the way, you're so funny because you give away yourself. That means that when you hear that someone else is in Florida, your automatic assumption is that they're not working hard enough. Haven't you given enough?
That couldn't possibly be true.
I mean, God almighty, people can work on remote, and you can also, by the way, have a little work-life balance, Michael. Not a bad thing.
I have been in Florida for a few days. It's all work. It is
Just
all work.
Make sure people know you're very busy.
Yeah, working. You
got
and you know what's really cool? What's really cool, I have a pigmentation that if I'm outside for literally a few seconds, then I get it. But I'll say this to you and to Dan, because Dan knows this well. Look out, because it's taken me a couple of days, but I have perfected the ability to be on the road and stay on the air.
Oh, good. It's very peaceful in studio. Very peaceful.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, then maybe this is the future. I will just stay on the road.
All right. So what is your next? I just had to interject because the chatter on YouTube is really something.
Final story. This is an unbelievable story.
Go ahead.
And it is okay. It's piqued my curiosity because I'm a dog person. Dan's a dog person. You're a dog person. We all have dogs. We love our dogs. It's Philly based, and I know the specific location because I'm there every week to do my CNN program. My CNN studio is on one side of a particular apartment building, and on the other side, on the sidewalk, is where this incident occurred. An FBI agent, and not just any FBI agent, the FBI agent in charge of the Philadelphia field office, apparently walking her dog, someone else walking a pit bull, an encounter between the two dogs, the pit bull reportedly going after the dog of the FBI agent, and then reportedly going after the FBI agent when she tries to rescue her pet. So what does she do? She's armed and she shoots and kills the pit bull. And now you've got some people fit to be tied over the fact that an FBI agent killed a dog on a sidewalk in Philadelphia, and they've been protesting. I know you've been reading it. The Philadelphia Inquirer has the story. Is there anything else that you wanted to share?
So it's awful. That is what I will say.
Yeah.
I am also I'm all nervous. You can see I'm wringing my hands. I read the same thing. It seemed that there is video of the incident, and so the description of the video is exactly what you just said. The pit bull grabbed the small dog and was shaking it. So the FBI agent tried to intervene, and then the pit bull allegedly attacked the woman. I'm for dogs.
Attack the agent.
Attack the agent. Yes, I'm for dogs. I obviously would never want to see any dog killed or hurt in any way. That being said, if my dog is being attacked by another dog, I'm going to do anything I can to stop that dog from attacking my dog. So I don't know where the truth or where the legality or where what should have happened. I just wish this didn't happen. How's that?
I wish it didn't happen as well, but I think it presents some very unique questions about the use of deadly force.
Evidently, she shot the dog in the hip.
I don't know that matters. Maybe it does. But and the dog died instantly, right? I mean, maybe
in the owner's
other words,
arms.
You're wondering
in the owner's arms,
right.
And the dog's name is Mia. Like it's not like some wild animal, right? I don't know.
I mean, how about this? Forget the fact that she's an FBI agent. Forget the fact that she's an FBI agent. She's a radio producer, and the facts are otherwise the same. And maybe it's not a gun. Maybe somehow, you picked up a cinder block because a pit bull was attacking you and your dog, and you use the cinder block to defend yourself and the dog. Would we even be having this conversation? I don't think we would. I think we'd be saying you had to use the cinder block because otherwise that pit bull, like the alligator in Florida with the 85-year-old woman, was gonna be lights out.
So do you think it's the FBI agent, or do you think it's the gun that's the issue?
I think the combination of the use of a gun, an FBI agent, and the climate in which this occurred I think it's distorting some of the issue.
Yeah.
The issue was there a reasonable fear of serious bodily harm? And I got to say something else. If it weren't a pit bull and if it were some other dog, because we've had the whole conversation here whether pit bulls get a bad rap. Anyway, I got to run, but that's the bottom line. Read that story.
More on that one. I think.
All of this information spelled out at Smerconish.com. And remember the poll question. Did the Georgia foreperson just give Donald Trump a get out of jail free card in the court of public opinion? And I don't mean with everybody, but I think that like this has just created some mishigas and confusion that the prosecutor in Georgia sure as hell didn't need. So it's a benefit to Trump. How big of a benefit? Don't know. Go to Smerconish.com and cast your ballot. See ya.